Every single morning, we are handed a decision far more powerful than we realize. It's not the emails waiting to be answered, the meetings scheduled on your calendar, or the tasks piling up. It's how you choose to start your day, because the truth is, the way you begin your morning sets the tone for the rest of your life. Think of your morning as the foundation of a building. If you rush it, ignore it, or neglect it, your entire day becomes structurally unstable. But if you craft it intentionally, if you build a foundation with strength, purpose, and clarity, everything you construct on top of it becomes stronger. Let's take a moment to understand what owning your morning actually means. It doesn't require hours of rituals, perfection, or some complex system. It simply means choosing to be in control of your time, energy, and mindset at the beginning of your day before the world gets a chance to pull you in 100 different directions. Most people wake up and immediately react. They reach for their phones, check notifications, compare themselves to others on social media, and dive straight into a world of demands. And then they wonder why they feel behind, anxious, and exhausted. But if you start your day reacting, you've already given your power away. Instead, imagine waking up with purpose. Even 5 intentional minutes can transform everything, whether it's taking a quiet moment to breathe, writing down what you're grateful for, setting a clear intention, reading something that sparks your mind, or simply moving your body. These aren't just morning habits. These are declarations. They say, I am the one who decides how my day will unfold. Ownership doesn't come from luck. It comes from discipline. And discipline doesn't have to be rigid. It's not about punishing yourself with a strict routine. It's about honoring yourself with consistency. When you honor your mornings, you send a message to your brain and body that your time matters, that you matter. And the more often you do it, the more confident, clear, and capable you become. People often say they don't have time for morning routines. But let's look at it differently. You don't have time not to own your morning, because the cost of not doing it is far greater than the effort it takes. You lose clarity, energy, and momentum before the day even begins. And you carry that loss into your decisions, your relationships, your creativity, your entire life. So here's the challenge. Start small. Wake up 10 minutes earlier. Don't touch your phone. Drink water. Move, reflect, breathe. Read one sentence that inspires you. Write down one thought that matters. You don't need to run a marathon before sunrise. You just need to start by showing yourself that you're in control. There is nothing accidental about success. There is nothing random about peace of mind. These are built day by day, habit by habit, moment by moment. And it starts with the morning. Own it, and you begin to own every part of your life that truly matters. 5 keynotes of the speech. The way you start your morning sets the emotional and psychological tone for the rest of your day. Reacting to the world immediately upon waking hands over your control, while intentionality restores your power. Morning routines don't require complexity, they require consistency and purpose. Small, consistent actions in the morning compound into long-term discipline, clarity, and self-respect. Success, fulfillment, and peace begin not in grand gestures, but in quiet, consistent ownership of your mornings. The way you start your morning sets the emotional and psychological tone for the rest of your day. It may sound simple, even obvious, but most people overlook the profound impact of this truth. We often assume that our productivity mindset and emotional balance are shaped by major events or decisions throughout the day. But in reality, the initial moments after we wake up influence everything that follows. These early moments determine how we think, how we feel, how we react, and ultimately how we live. When you wake up in a hurry, already stressed, already thinking about what could go wrong or what needs to be done, you're conditioning your body and mind to stay in a reactive state. You begin your day responding instead of leading. Your brain immediately shifts into survival mode, scanning for threats, deadlines, and problems. The result, anxiety, tension, and a lack of clarity dominate your thoughts. You feel behind before the day even truly begins. That energy then leaks into how you talk to people, how you show up for your work, and how you interpret every situation. Small problems feel bigger. Simple tasks seem more difficult. You carry the weight of a morning poorly managed into every hour that follows. Now contrast that with someone who wakes up intentionally. Instead of grabbing their phone or rushing out of bed, they take a few minutes to breathe, stretch, and simply be present. They begin the day slowly and mindfully, not because they have extra time, but because they understand the value of owning their internal state before the external world demands their attention. This person sets their psychological and emotional thermostat at a level that supports calm, clarity, and focus. They aren't just reacting, they are directing. This isn't just about positive thinking or wishful behavior. It's about neurological conditioning. When your brain experiences calm first thing in the morning, it is more likely to remain in that state. When you begin with chaos, your nervous system stays on high alert. It becomes harder to regulate your emotions, make clear decisions, and stay focused. The morning also serves as a symbolic reset. No matter what happened yesterday, each new day offers a fresh opportunity to reframe, restart, and realign. But if you begin the day stuck in yesterday's mindset, worries, or failures, you miss that opportunity. You're repeating a loop rather than initiating change. Owning your morning means owning that window of reset. It means saying, today, I begin with a mindset that serves me. You are no longer a passive observer of how your day unfolds. You become an active creator. Many people underestimate how powerful even 5 to 10 minutes in the morning can be. These minutes can act as the emotional anchor for your entire day. They give your mind something stable to return to when chaos arises. Let's say you begin your day with 3 minutes of focused breathing, followed by a single sentence of affirmation or reflection. It may seem small, but when stress hits later in the day, your brain remembers that peaceful beginning. It knows that calm is available to you. And when your internal world is grounded, the external world loses its ability to unbalance you. This doesn't mean you have to be a morning person or wake up at 5 a.m. It simply means you need to reclaim those first moments of your day and use them to prime your state of mind. Whether you rise at dawn or after the sun, what matters is how you begin. If your first thoughts are filled with negativity, comparison, or pressure, you carry that into every conversation, decision, and interaction. But if your first thoughts are rooted in purpose, calm, and gratitude, that becomes your lens for the rest of the day. Ultimately, your morning is a choice. Every day you get to decide what kind of emotional and mental energy you want to lead with. And that choice influences not just how the next 24 hours go, but how your weeks, months, and life evolve. Each day is like a domino, and the morning is the first one. If it falls in the right direction, everything else has a better chance of aligning. But if it falls in the wrong way, the entire chain can be thrown off. The people who consistently own their mornings are not lucky. They are deliberate. They know that the emotional, psychological tone of the day doesn't come from outside. It begins within. And they take responsibility for setting it right, reacting to the world immediately upon waking hands over your control, while intentionality restores your power. This simple distinction can determine the quality of not only your day, but also your focus, confidence, and overall well-being. The difference between reacting and responding with intention is the difference between living by default and living by design. Most people wake up and instantly enter a state of reaction. Their hand reaches for their phone before they've even sat up. Within seconds, they are flooded with notifications, messages, news, headlines, and social media updates. Before they've taken their first conscious breath of the day, their attention has already been hijacked by the outside world. The mind, still in a vulnerable state from sleep, becomes a sponge for whatever enters it first. If that first input is someone else's urgency, drama, or demand, the brain begins operating from a defensive mode. This reactive state creates a chain reaction in the nervous system. Your heart rate increases, cortisol begins to rise, and your ability to focus or stay calm diminishes. What you may not realize is that this reactive loop doesn't just affect the first few minutes of your day. It colors the rest of it. You spend hours catching up, feeling behind, distracted, emotionally unstable, or overly sensitive. All of it begins with how you handled the first few minutes after opening your eyes. Now think about what it means to start your day with intention. You wake up, you take a breath, you pause. You understand that your attention is the most valuable asset you have, and you choose to protect it, especially in the moments when your brain is most impressionable. You don't immediately look outward. You begin inward. Maybe you sit in silence. Maybe you write down a thought or reflect on something meaningful. Maybe you decide what kind of energy you want to bring into the day before the day brings its energy to you. That small shift in habit is not just a personal preference, it's an act of reclaiming power. You are telling your mind, I decide where we go first. I decide what matters. When you give yourself even 5 minutes to be intentional, you're anchoring your thoughts in stability instead of chaos. You are setting boundaries before anyone else gets the chance to cross them. You're saying, I come first. And that's not selfish, that's smart, because when you are grounded, everyone around you benefits. You communicate better, you focus more clearly, you lead with greater empathy, you respond with wisdom instead of reacting with emotion. But none of that is possible if you're always starting from a place of reaction. People often underestimate the long-term effects of small morning decisions. They think 5 minutes here or a scroll there won't matter in the grand scheme. But every reaction to the outside world is a micro decision to give away a piece of your power. And over time, those pieces add up. You become more emotionally unstable, more scattered, more easily triggered. You train your brain to live in a constant state of alert. The phone rings, a text comes in, and your body responds like there's an emergency. This hyperreactivity is not normal. It's a result of repetitive habits that condition your nervous system to expect stress. But the opposite is also true. Every time you choose to pause, breathe, and be intentional, you retrain your brain. You shift your baseline. You teach your mind that calm is your default, not chaos. You learn to respond instead of react. This skill is not just helpful, it's transformative. Imagine facing challenges not from a place of panic, but from a place of clarity. Imagine starting conversations with emotional balance instead of tension. That emotional intelligence is built moment by moment, and it begins the moment you wake up. The irony is that we live in a time when we are more connected than ever, yet more disconnected from ourselves. We have endless information but lack true insight. That's because we are constantly reacting to messages, updates, news, opinions, alerts. But true clarity, confidence, and self-awareness do not come from reacting. They come from creating. And to create your life, you must first create your morning. Intentionality gives you that chance. It's the pause before the noise. It's the decision to check in with yourself before checking in with the world. It's the habit of choosing your state instead of surrendering it. And that one habit, practiced consistently, becomes the foundation for everything else you want to build in your life. Because when you start your day by choosing your response, you remind yourself that you're not just living life, you're leading it. Morning routines don't require complexity. They require consistency and purpose. That's where many people get it wrong. They believe a productive morning must be packed with tasks, strict schedules, and a list of self-help rituals copied from someone else's life. But that mindset often leads to burnout, frustration, and eventual abandonment of the very routine that was meant to bring peace. The real power of a morning routine doesn't lie in how many things you do, but in how intentionally and consistently you do them. We live in a culture that romanticizes extremes. People admire the individual who wakes up at 4:30 a.m., runs 10 miles, meditates for an hour, journals, reads, and prepares a gourmet breakfast all before sunrise. While impressive, this version of a morning routine is not sustainable for most people, nor is it necessary. What is necessary is building a system that works for your life, your energy, and your goals. It's not about being impressive, it's about being effective, and effectiveness begins with simplicity and purpose. When we talk about consistency, we're not referring to perfection. We're referring to the habit of showing up every day for yourself, even if it's just for 5 minutes. Those small, regular acts of discipline compound over time into enormous change. Doing a 5-minute routinely for a year is more powerful than doing a perfect 1-hour ritual sporadically. Consistency creates identity. When you show up for yourself in the morning, even in the smallest way, you are reinforcing the belief that your time, your mindset, and your goals matter. That belief becomes the fuel behind every other decision you make throughout the day. Purpose is what gives your routine depth. It's what transforms a habit into a ritual. Without purpose, even the most productive morning can feel empty. You can go through the motions, drink water, meditate, journal, but if you're not connected to why you're doing it, it eventually becomes a task to check off, not a source of empowerment. Purpose is found in the clarity of intention. Are you starting your day to feel centered, to focus your mind, to reconnect with your goals, to build resilience? When you define that reason, even the simplest routine gains strength. Drinking water in the morning isn't just hydration, it becomes a commitment to caring for your body. Writing down your thoughts isn't just journaling, it's aligning with your inner voice. When you act with purpose, small actions take on big meaning. Another common trap people fall into is comparing their routines to others. They look at what a successful person does each morning and assume they must copy it exactly. But routines are not one size fits all. Your needs, your responsibilities, and your environment are unique. A parent with young children will have a very different morning experience than a student or a CEO. The key is not to replicate someone else's formula, but to design your own. Start with what matters most, what gives you energy, what grounds you, what helps you stay focused. Build around those answers. That is how you create a morning routine that lasts. It's also important to recognize that the quality of your routine is not measured by how early you wake up. Waking up early is only effective if you're getting enough rest and using that time wisely. Some people are naturally more alert later in the day, and that's okay. What matters is what you do with the first 30 minutes after waking, not the hour on the clock. If you begin your day with intention, even at 8 or 9 a.m., you're still owning your morning. It's not about early, it's about aligned. Simplicity is your ally in building this habit. Choose 2 or 3 practices you can do every morning without resistance. Maybe it's stretching for 2 minutes, reading a paragraph of a meaningful book, and writing down your main goal for the day. Done consistently, that simple routine will have more lasting impact than trying to cram 10 different things into your morning, because simplicity allows for sustainability. And sustainability is what turns actions into identity. There will be days when your routine is disrupted. Life happens, travel, stress, responsibilities, these things can interfere. But the value of a simple and purposeful routine is that it's easy to return to. You don't need the perfect conditions to show up. You just need a decision, and that decision builds the muscle of discipline. It reminds you that no matter what the day brings, you began it with a choice to lead, not follow. Morning routines are not about adding pressure or performance. They're about protecting your energy, your clarity, and your time. They are your daily investment in yourself before you invest in everything and everyone else. And when built on consistency and purpose, they become less about what you do and more about who you become. Small, consistent actions in the morning compound into long-term discipline, clarity, and self-respect. This is a principle often overlooked in a world that glamorizes rapid change and instant results. But lasting transformation isn't built through intensity, it's built through repetition. When you begin your day with even the smallest act of self-leadership, you are signaling to yourself that you can be trusted. And that trust, built little by little, becomes the foundation for a stronger, more disciplined, and more focused version of you. We often assume that discipline is about big sacrifices or extreme behaviors, waking up at 4 a.m., working out until exhaustion, pushing through burnout. But real discipline starts in subtle ways. It starts the moment you choose to get out of bed when your alarm rings instead of hitting snooze. It starts when you drink a glass of water instead of diving into caffeine or screens. It starts when you sit in silence for a minute before the world demands your attention. These actions might seem too minor to matter, but their true value lies in what they represent. They are daily promises kept to yourself. Over time, these promises build identity. When you repeat a behavior consistently, your brain begins to internalize a new story. I'm the kind of person who shows up. I'm the kind of person who takes care of their mind and body. I'm the kind of person who respects my own time. That identity doesn't emerge overnight, but through the layering of small acts of intention again and again. The more often you align your behavior with your values first thing in the morning, the more aligned your entire life becomes. That's how clarity is formed, not from external goals, but from internal consistency. Clarity isn't something you find in a book or stumble upon by accident. It is something you build by removing noise and distraction, by reinforcing habits that bring you closer to your purpose. Mornings provide a sacred window for this building process. When the world is quiet and your mind is still somewhat untouched by the chaos of the day, you have the opportunity to direct your focus inward. That inward focus is where true clarity grows. It is in those quiet minutes that you can ask yourself, what matters today? And when you answer that question daily, with presence and sincerity, you begin to make decisions not from impulse, but from vision. There's also a deeper emotional impact that comes from these consistent acts. Every time you follow through with a morning habit, even a small one, you reinforce your sense of self-respect. You show yourself that your well-being is worth prioritizing. You tell yourself that your goals are valid, that your peace of mind is non-negotiable. Over time, this self-respect becomes your anchor. On days when things don't go as planned, when life feels heavy or chaotic, you can lean on the quiet confidence built through those morning routines. That's the power of small actions. They become your fallback strength when motivation is absent. Discipline, clarity, and self-respect are often seen as traits of highly successful people. But they don't appear magically. They are earned in the early hours away from the spotlight, in the choices no one sees. They are forged when you decide to put intention before convenience and consistency before comfort. They are not gifted to a lucky few. They are cultivated by anyone willing to show up every day for themselves. And showing up doesn't require perfection. It just requires presence. Some mornings you'll feel energized and focused. Other mornings you'll feel tired, distracted, or unmotivated. But even on those days, doing something small, something grounded in your values, keeps the momentum alive. That momentum matters more than anything. It is what turns a single act into a habit into a routine, and a routine into a lifestyle. We underestimate the power of what we do repeatedly. We chase after big breakthroughs and grand plans, thinking they will change everything. But the real shift happens in the micro moments. When you decide to write one sentence in your journal, when you choose to take 3 deep breaths before checking your phone, when you stretch your body for 5 minutes to loosen the tension you've carried from sleep, these aren't meaningless motions. These are deposits into your future. These are the behaviors that shape how you think, how you feel, how you lead, and how you live. Small actions done consistently don't just improve your mornings, they elevate your entire life, because what you do in the morning is not isolated. It travels with you. It shows up in how you manage stress, how you treat others, how you handle uncertainty, and how you pursue your goals. So when you choose to act intentionally each morning, no matter how simple the act, you're not just changing a day, you're changing a trajectory. You're proving to yourself that discipline is within reach, clarity is attainable, and self-respect is not something you wait for. It's something you earn. Success, fulfillment, and peace begin not in grand gestures, but in quiet, consistent ownership of your mornings. This idea challenges the popular notion that change only comes through big, dramatic efforts. While there is inspiration in bold action, the truth is that the most meaningful growth often happens in the quiet, often overlooked parts of life. And there's nothing quieter or more overlooked than the early hours of the morning. Before anyone is watching, before the world makes its demands, before distractions take over. When you decide to take control of your morning, you are taking control of the part of your life that sets the emotional, mental, and physical trajectory for the day. That control doesn't need to be flashy. It doesn't need applause. It just needs to be consistent. You don't have to meditate for an hour, write a book before sunrise, or run 10 miles at dawn. What matters is that you do something intentional, something rooted in clarity, something that says, this moment is mine. Because that simple decision to own the beginning of your day carries power far beyond those early hours. Owning your morning means deciding deliberately how you will enter the day. It means waking up and taking even a few minutes to choose how you will think, move, feel, and respond. When you do that, you are no longer living on autopilot. You are not allowing your phone, your emails, your schedule, or the noise of the outside world to decide your mindset for you. You are instead stepping into leadership, self-leadership. That kind of leadership is subtle, but is the root of all meaningful success. Success is often misunderstood. People associate it with wealth, status, or public recognition. But real success is internal. It's waking up and knowing who you are and what you stand for. It's knowing that your time matters, your health matters, your mindset matters, and then living in alignment with that knowledge. That kind of success doesn't come from chance. It comes from practice. It comes from deciding again and again that you will not be a victim of your circumstances, but a creator of your reality. And that practice begins in the morning. Fulfillment is another word that gets thrown around without depth. But true fulfillment doesn't happen when you achieve some far-off goal. It happens in the process of living with intention. It happens when your days reflect your values, when your actions align with what matters to you. And the easiest way to begin building that alignment is through the first decisions you make each day. If you start your morning with chaos, mindlessness, or anxiety, you are out of alignment before the day even begins. But if you start with presence, with even a few moments of calm or gratitude, you create space for fulfillment to enter. Peace is perhaps the most underrated form of success in a world full of noise, pressure, comparison, and distraction. Peace is a rare and powerful state. And the people who live with peace are not those who avoid challenge, but those who manage it from a grounded place. That grounding is formed in the morning when the mind is most open and the day is still unshaped, taking a few moments to be still, to breathe, to reflect, or to move gently. These moments create an internal stability that follows you into the day. Peace is not the absence of problems, it is the presence of perspective. And that perspective is sharpened in the quiet choices you make before the world gets loud. People often wait for the right time to change their life. They wait for motivation, for the perfect opportunity, for a break in their schedule. But the truth is, life doesn't change all at once. It changes one morning at a time. It changes when you decide to wake up and choose something better, even if that choice seems small. It changes when you take ownership of the time you usually give away. It changes when you stop rushing and start leading. Your mornings are not just about preparation. They are about transformation. Every morning offers a reset, a blank page, a chance to choose how you will live. And when you make those choices with care, with consistency, and with intention, you begin to reshape your life from the inside out. That is where real power lies. Not in the big moments, but in the small ones. Not in the spotlight, but in the silence. Not in the impressive, but in the intentional. Every success story, every fulfilled life, every grounded person, you'll find their strength in the habits no one sees. And most of those habits begin first thing in the morning. When you own your morning, you reclaim the most vital part of your life, the beginning. Not just the start of your day, but the starting point of your mindset, your energy, your clarity, and your direction. In those early minutes, before the world reaches for your attention, you have the opportunity to choose who you want to be and how you want to live. It's not about having a perfect routine or fitting into someone else's formula. It's about acting with intention, building small habits that compound into powerful results, and creating space for success, fulfillment, and peace to take root. The morning is not a luxury, it's your foundation. And when you choose to lead yourself before anything else leads you, everything in your life begins to shift. Own your morning, and you'll begin to own your life. Not someday, but starting now, every single day.